Good morning. Happy Monday morning. Facebook, thank you guys so much for joining live. If you're here watching, if you're watching the replay, thank you so much for watching the replay and spending some time with us today, whatever day it is of the week, whatever time of the day it is for you. This is I'm losing track. Day 13 or day 14, I believe. We'll have the title correct on this, and we'll have the description correct on this, and the email that goes out will be correct for this. But yeah, I mean, we have just been going nonstop for several weeks now, just throwing ideas at you guys, and I hope that you are finding some success in implementing them. I hope that you're actually dedicating some time to implement these ideas. One of the things that I often talk about when I teach about the business of photography, now this is more when I give a keynote or when I give a lecture or when I give a workshop, I say education without action is just entertainment. And I'm certainly happy to be here to entertain you, but what I really hope that you're getting out of these videos and this challenge is that you're actually implementing these things. In order for you to be successful in business in general. Now, this is the current crisis and the current situation aside. In order for you to be successful, you have to have the passion to want to pursue what it is that you're doing, which obviously you have because you're here, you're watching this, you're a photographer, you're doing the thing. You have the passion. You have to have the knowledge to know what to do. You have to, understand the principles, the tactics, the strategies, the tips, the tricks. That's what these videos are. That's what this challenge is. That's what our podcast is. That's what the articles that we write on getsproutstudio.com are all about. That's what all of this stuff is. Everything that we put out there for you is the insight. It's the knowledge. It's the know-how. It's the tactics. It's the strategy. But after that, we can only lead you to water. Do you know what I'm saying? So the last part of the equation is execution. So you have to want to do it, you have to know what to do, but then you have to do it. And unfortunately, we can't do anything there, right? We can do our part to make sure that you know what to do. We can do our part to make sure that you have everything you need in order to actually do the things to grow your business, to sustain yourself, to give yourself additional revenue streams, to help you sustain yourself through this crisis, to give you ideas on how you can generate revenue and how you can kick up new marketing strategies, on how you can reach new clients, on how you can book more people. We can give you all that. That's what we've been giving you. But if you're not doing the things, then there's nothing else that we can do. And I don't want this to go on too long, but I really wanted to spend a minute or two here just kind of connecting with you guys and encouraging you to make sure that if you're showing up and you're doing these things and you're consuming this education and we're giving you all these ideas, I just really want to make sure that you're dedicating some time to do these things, that you're dedicating some time to implement these strategies, because I'd love to entertain you. I really would love to entertain you, but I feel like if my goal here was to entertain you, I'd probably be doing different things than just running off about business strategies, right? So, my goal, my hope, and our hope in creating this challenge and this series for you was to create some new ways of thinking, some new ways of implementing strategies in your business so that you could actually make a difference, so that you could actually move the needle in your business, and that you could actually, not struggle through this current economic crisis. And I'd even venture to say that if you've done all the things that we've talked about so far in the challenge, there's almost a guaranteed chance that no, there is. It's guaranteed that you will not be struggling right now. But if you are, I want you just to take a moment and look back at what you've actually done and the strategies that you've actually implemented that we've been teaching through this. And I'm willing to bet that there's probably some gaps. And so go back and watch the videos, go back and read the emails, go back and use the checklists. We're putting these resources together. Right now, we've got 3 full-time staff at Sprout that are just dedicated to doing this stuff for you guys. And so if you're not doing anything with it, and you're not helping yourself, it's hard for us to keep doing that for you. So again, I'm going to stop now, but I just wanted to take a minute. This is now week number 4, I think, that we're on of the lockdown, the shutdown, the quarantine, whatever you want to call it, depending on where you are in the world. And yeah, I mean, there's signs of it looking like it's going to be a little while until it gets better. So we're going to be in this state, in this current season of our business for potentially a little bit of time. And if we're not helping ourselves, then it's not going to get any better. And there are, financial support opportunities out there for us, absolutely, for you as a photographer, absolutely. But my thought process is that if you're not building the habits of helping yourself, if you're not building the habits of grinding and doing the work, if you're not building the habits of setting, goals and working towards them and being productive and getting things done, if you're not doing it now, I'm sorry to say, but it's never going to happen, that's just a reality check that I wanted to kind of, point out to you, to say, so often when I've in the past 10 years of teaching photographers, when I teach business strategies, I teach pricing, I teach marketing, I teach selling, I teach productivity, I teach all these things, so often the pushback on why things don't get done is because, oh, I'm too busy. Oh, I don't have the time. Oh, how do I do that when I'm in the middle of my busy season? I'm doing too many shoots. I'm doing too many, all these things. Guys, we don't have that excuse right now. I mean, some of us do, but we got kids. It's different. I understand that, that are now home and they're not at school and so on and so forth. But, for most of us, we have more time right now to work on our business than we do typically in the normal season of our business. And so my argument is that if you're not getting these things done now, there's even more excuses when things go back to normal, right? So again, I just wanted to take a moment and sort of make a bit of a plea for you, or with you, to say, if you haven't been following along, if you haven't been doing these things, if you haven't been implementing the strategies, if you're still finding yourself struggling, then just, take a look in the mirror and see, where are there some gaps? Where are there some areas that, you haven't followed through on some of the things that we've been talking about, or even some of the other things that you've been learning. There's a lot of educators right now that are helping you guys through this. There's so much content. There is so much help. There's so much guidance in our industry right now to help you weather this storm. We are just one of the voices. I am just one of the voices. And if you want to go somewhere else, that's totally fine, 100% fine, because our only goal for you, our only hope for you is that when this is all over, you can still put up your hand and say, I'm still a photographer. You can still put up your hand and say, my business is still afloat. You can still put up your hand and say, I've weathered this storm. That is our only hope for you, whether that be through the content we're making for you, or whether that be through the content that SLR Lounge is making for you, or F-Stoppers, or anyone is making for you. I see guys like Ben Hartley from Style and Story Creative. He's doing image critiques and doing portfolio reviews, and amazing. I see Philip Bloom doing all the things that he's doing in his community. I see Seishu, who's running, sharing all this content and other things that other photographers are doing. That's fantastic. Go and do it. Go and do some of it. Go and do any of it. I don't care if it's not our stuff. Go and do some of it. Go and actually spend some time working on your business, because all of these things that everyone is sharing with you is only there to help you through these difficult times. And if you're not dedicating yourself, and if you're not driven to do those things now, my argument is that you're never going to be driven to do those things. So make a point today. It's Monday. Make a point today to start to do some of these things, because this season that we're in right now, is not going away anytime soon, unfortunately. And no one has a magic ball. No one knows when it will. But if you're not showing the dedication and the drive and the determination to get these things done and to implement strategies in your business that are going to help you, if you're not doing it now, my argument is that you're not exhibiting the patterns that a successful entrepreneur exhibits. And maybe that's harsh. Maybe that's too harsh. I'm trying not to be too harsh, but I really want you to survive this. I really want to help you through this. And that's why we're doing everything we can to give you the strategies. But if we can't go further than that. Does that make sense? I can't force you to do the things. We can just give you the strategies. Anyways, I'm going to stop now because we have a topic for today and I want to get into the topic. It's actually going to be an interview. Well, I recorded an interview with Tanya Smith. You might be familiar with Tanya. She's been actually in a couple of the chats and stuff here that we've been doing. But I had an interview with Tanya for our podcast not too long ago. I'm actually going to quickly, there we go. So it was episode 385 of our podcast. Again, if you're not already in the podcast, then I definitely encourage you to go and subscribe to it. But episode 385, go and listen to it. It's going to be a good primer on the topic that we're talking about today. She talks about how to run a successful studio sale. And we basically walked through exactly what she did when she ran an $80,000 studio sale. Now, she's a boudoir photographer, but you could apply these principles for anything, for families, for children, for engagement, for anything. So listen to that episode because it's going to be a really good primer on the topic that we're going to talk about today. So episode 385 of the Business of Photography podcast. I encourage you to go listen to it. If you go to getsproutsstudio.com/385, you can just listen to it right in your browser, so you don't have to subscribe. Although I would encourage you to subscribe because there's lots of great content in the podcast. But what I want to do is I'm going to transition over to that interview that I had with Tanya, and then I'll come back and we can chat. And if you have any questions, we can run through them. So I'm going to transition to the Bryan of the past and play that interview that I had with Tanya right now.
All right.
So I guess we'll just start talking about in these times that we're all going through right now, as a humankind, which is like honestly kind of crazy to think about because, you can say like, oh, Americans or Canadians or whatever. It's just like, no, like the entire world is going through this
It's crazy.
chaos right now. There's a lot of uncertainty for photographers. A lot of photographers are seeing cancellations. They're seeing bookings change. They're seeing their clients that are kind of guarding their checkbooks perhaps a little bit more than normal. The photographers themselves are going through uncertainty and not sure what they should be doing with their time. And I know that, Tanya, one of the things that you advocate for, especially in times like this when perhaps we have more time just to sit and work on our business, is to relook at sort of that business strategy and pricing and things like that. So talk to me about where does a photographer start in that sort of deep dive of pricing strategy?
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy times, and yeah, this is now the time that we have to work on our business instead of in it. Unfortunately, we're forced to. But I'm a big advocate for just dealing with what you can control as opposed to things you can't. And sometimes most times it means, especially right now, getting off social media and maybe doing some productive work, even just for your own self work, like just feeling good about yourself, because staring at social media is not good for you right now. Small doses in that for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, listening to podcasts, getting caught up on that, reading some business books, some audiobooks. And I like to relook at my pricing and pull out the dreaded spreadsheet and the cost of goods and cost of doing business and all that, and just make sure your pricing is where you want it to be so that you are profitable, right? So
I think now is probably a time where a lot of those kinds of conversations make sense. I'm curious on your thoughts on the idea. It's funny because I just had this conversation with a previous interview, where our financial requirements, as like where we stand right now through this crisis, is probably actually a little bit different than it would be otherwise. Because if you're seeing all these cancellations and I've seen some photographers in some groups that are saying, yeah, I had $50,000 of income planned in the next 2 months. That's now like nothing.
Yeah.
And so, that photographer's requirement for their get out of bed price, like we sort of call it otherwise,
Yeah.
has shifted a little bit in the sense that like they just want to keep food on the table and
Yep.
in some way make that work. In your mind, or in your opinion, does that change how a photographer would look at their pricing strategy now, or would you more recommend a photographer kind of thinks with a clear head as if we're not in this situation when they look at that stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's kind of a little bit of both. Like, I think, saying for your example that you had $50,000 worth of income that was going to come in these next few months, and now it's okay, you didn't cancel it, but you pushed it back 4 or
Right.
5 months, you still don't have it. So I don't think that you should be changing your prices and lowering your prices because it's not going to matter anyway. You can't shoot people, you can't be around people. So one thing that you could do is run a promo for people who book right now, so they can't have their shoot maybe 3-4 months down the road, but you can take their session fee and you can take some income now. And I think a lot of people would be down with that to kind of help out their local photographer and local small business. So that could be a spin-off of that sale that I do, which is quite profitable as well. The promo, it's not a mini session. It's that promo that I do. So you could offer that at this time as well.
Yeah. Can we dive into that? I know that we'll link up the last podcast, Tanya, that you and I did, because I know that we did dive into it a fair bit in that episode. But I think through the lens of this situation that we're all through,
Yeah.
I don't think it would be a horrible thing to reiterate it and perhaps just bounce ideas around to see if it should be shifting or if it should change at all based on this current situation. So
Sure.
looking at, I guess let's just start with from the top on that. What is the promotion and how do you present it?
Okay. So essentially, it is literally just a reduction in the session fee. So I'll just use my example, how I price. My session fee is $395, and I offer it for $99. So they're getting, $300 off the session fee. And then there's no products, there's no images included. And that's made very clear. But they do get that reduced session fee. So they're getting hair and makeup. And yes, I am out of pocket for hair and makeup because it cost me $150. But remember, in this case, we're getting that $99 and we're not paying our hair and makeup artist until the shoot. So we don't have to worry about that yet. And then you can take, in this case, I would take a retainer to hold that shoot date, maybe a couple $100, maybe $500 or whatever. And now their shoot is booked for, let's fingers crossed that we can start shooting in May or June.
Right.
But now they have it in at a reduced rate. So, and I would open that up for anybody who wants it. I wouldn't put a cap on it. I would, tell people to share it with anyone who's interested. Because as soon as you say I'm only taking 20 sessions or 10 sessions,
Right.
people are not going to share it if they're thinking about doing it.
Right.
So keep it open, take as many as you can at this time, and sweeten the pot a little bit for them as well with what you're going to include. Remember, no images, but with the purchase of images, you will also get X. And for me, I like to add in things that don't cost me money out of pocket. So for example, the high-res digital copies of what you purchased, or the smartphone app that you can get, which just costs you time to put together and not money. Things like that. You have to order for. So
Sorry, you went all ET on me there for a second. It sounded like you were underwater.
oh, did I?
Yeah, it's all good. It's
Yeah,
all good.
and
I
sorry,
I
and
think
you
it's
did.
just it's Skype that does that sometimes.
Okay.
Just quickly to clarify, because you had said that you take your $395 session fee, you bring it down to $95. You're basically giving $300 off. But
Right.
you had also said that you say that they have to have a retainer to book the session. Can you clarify that part again? Sorry for me.
Sure. Well, maybe I'll tell you how I do it right now.
Yeah.
In normal times.
Right.
If you wanted to book with me, you pay $395 for the session fee, and I take $1,000 as a retainer to hold that shoot date.
Okay.
And that whole $100 or $1,000 goes towards their purchase of product. at their reveal.
Okay.
So my strategy with that is, one, it cuts down on cancellations and no shows. I actually literally never get them.
Right.
And two, money spent is money forgotten, right? So they already gave me $1,000, so now my $3,000 package doesn't look so scary because they only owe me $2,000.
Right. It's also
So-
like at least it allows you to enforce a bit of a minimum spend for an order too. If that's a strategy that a photographer wants to deploy, it has that baked in basically.
Absolutely. And that's the thing too, is for sure, if your lowest package is $700-800, maybe make that your retainer, because you're going to spend that no matter what. I don't want to book you unless you're going to spend that.
Right.
So yeah, you can do that as well. But some people right now, and again, yes, there are a lot of people that are, struggling and wondering what's going to happen, and maybe they don't have the money to put down. So you can, discount the session fee and discount your retainer fee at this time. But there are people who are still spending money. They still are. There's still people who are spending. So, and they do know the value of, having a shoot, especially if you have followers, and, they've always wanted to do it. And this might be the push to get them in when all of this is said and done.
So in a time like this, I guess what you're suggesting is start running the promotion, or at least start planning the promotion. Don't just put a post up tomorrow, but start planning it, and you're going to have some reduced session fee price. In addition to that, you'll have some retainer that they would basically pay, that they would then get as a credit towards their session.
Right.
And again, from there, it's a normal session. This is not a mini session like you mentioned earlier. This is not a mini session promotion. This is just a sale for more or less. It's a promotion for your normal sessions, but they just have to book it right now in order to take advantage of it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is I'm not a fan of mini sessions, just because there's so much work. There's so much work. So I don't like doing mini sessions. And also, I really want to give them the full experience that they get with me. So I want them to have, the hair and makeup and the full attention for me, because that's when people spend more money, when they get the whole luxury experience.
Right. So for photographers that are thinking of doing this now, and kicking this up, because again, a big part of these series that we're doing both on the podcast and in the Facebook group is to give photographers some ideas to generate this revenue. And this is obviously a great way. I know that, Tanya, when you did this last time, in the last interview that we talked, it was an $80,000 generator for you. Like that's pretty attractive for most photographers in this time. How would a photographer start in terms of advertising this? Like, is this a Facebook ads play? Is it a community play? Is it a contest play? How do you get the word out about this thing?
I haven't done it as a contest, but all the other things, yes. So, and again, we're in very different times right now. So I think the way you phrase your copy is going to be different than normal. Maybe talk about how, we can't wait for things to get back to normal, and I can't wait to get back in the studio and shoot. And, to fill my calendar when things get up and running, I'm offering this promotion, something like that. So don't ignore what's going on, but also don't
be ignorant to it.
Yeah, exactly. So I would change the copy a little bit, but put it in your groups. If you have Facebook groups, put it out there. Run an ad if you want. Anything like that where you can get it out there. But I would for sure, like for me, I've been doing this since 2011. So there's a lot of people that follow me who do want to shoot with me. But if that's not your situation, then absolutely, ask your friends to share it, hop into groups. I mean, don't sell in other people's groups, but, just be there and be visible so that people can see what it is that you're offering. And, a lot of groups like mom groups and local business groups have a promo Friday and that kind of thing. So just keep an eye out for that. I've gotten a lot of those there, my special. So there's that too. I think, reach out to your clients.
Yeah.
Right. And ask them to share. Like, I will reach out to past clients and say, hey, remember when you came in and you got that sale? I'm doing it again. So if you had any friends, do you mind posting this? People love to do that for you. So you can do that as well.
If you have any friends.
If you have any friends who would be interested, I probably should have finished that.
Right.
If you have any friends left.
Right. I want to actually, in a total, I know we hadn't planned on going here, but you've talked about it a couple times now, and I think it's just sparking an interest that I think might be helpful for photographers. You've mentioned Facebook groups a few times, and I know that in the boudoir community, having like every photographer has a Facebook community that they use as like a safe place for their clients and their potential clients, I believe, as well, to have dialogue and share and talk and discuss their experience and that sort of thing. I would imagine that right now, being a time that so many people are not at work, especially with the measures becoming more and more strict in terms of what we can do and where we can go and that sort of thing. A lot more people are spending a lot more time online on their community. They're watching the news updates like in
Yeah.
Facebook and on Instagram and things like that. So I would imagine that now is probably a good time to be creating a community. Would you agree with that? Or like, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even forget about the sale, even just
Yeah.
showing up for the people and
Yeah.
being a leader and just being supportive for what everyone's going through. We're all going through it.
Yeah.
And in my group, all I've done, is talked about, and I'm not posting those silly memes or things or making light of it. It's just reaching out and asking how people are doing. And does anyone local need anything? And, check in on your elderly neighbors and things like that, asking people fun little things like, what are you doing besides Netflix, to spend your time? And the people are, going for walks and doing puzzles and that kind of stuff. A little thing, somebody was posting, said that she just made cookies and someone asked, and then the recipe got posted. And I said, hey, let's do a recipe, post. So I'm starting that. And people are posting their favorite recipes that they're making, ones that are great to make with kids. And so I think if you just show up and just serve the people that have followed you, it's going to go a long way. And I know it's not income generating right now, but it will definitely come back to you when all is said and done. They're going to remember you. So I think that's probably the best thing for you to do, to stay present and be just there serving people.
Yeah, and I think in times like this is when community really has its time to shine, right? It has its time to be there and for everybody to serve each other. We're all in this together, so why
sure.
not be there to create a space that is comfortable and helpful for people.
Yep.
When you have, and again, I want to go down this group thing just for a minute, because when you have created your group and when you bring people into the group and things like that, how strict are you on, like, they need to match, your ideal client demographic, or they need to be past clients, or they need to be interested, or is it an open group that people can just come in to join to sort of, because they in some way show interest in what you do?
Yeah, I think it obviously depends on your genre. For me, I make sure it's women. No, anyone can join. Now, if I see someone from, on the other side of the planet trying to
Right.
join, there's not much point. Like, you're not going to come into my studio. Although I do have people who are in the States who do come over. So I'm pretty lenient for who gets in there as long as they're female. But if you have different genres like families, let the moms and the dads in there, of course.
Right.
Those kind of groups are actually really fun because there's a lot of moms in there who are stuck at home right now with their kids. So ideas to keep them occupied. I posted a couple of those. There's a whole, actually, I could share it with you if you want. It's a link for all these things that are now online, like one of the museums, big museums, and things like that for kids. So little things. Audible is doing a free thing for kids all while school's out.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah. So sharing helpful things like that, I would definitely stay away from sharing any sort of opinion piece or can you believe these people were having a party or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just keep it light. And honestly, it makes you feel better when you do it. It really, really does. Like, if you're sitting here going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? But if you switch it to what can I do to help, it instantly sort of changes your whole reframe of how you're thinking of things too. So it's helpful for you as well.
Yeah. 100%.
But yeah, let anybody in, unless it's boudoir. And just serve.
Yeah, I love it. So you went.
I think we froze.
Yeah,
Did
you
you
went
freeze?
ET again for a second.
Yeah.
You're good. We're back.
Yeah, I think you did too on me. I was like, what is he saying?
I want to wrap things up. I know that you recently launched. It was a course, I believe, correct?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah. I know that at the time of this going live, it will be wrapped up, but I want to give you
Right.
just maybe a chance, if you don't mind, like, just talk a little bit about what are you teaching through it, and if photographers want to find out more about it, where can they go?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, this is so I've been teaching photographers one-on-one for quite a few years, and this was my first venture into online teaching. So right now, what it is a founding members group. This is a beta group. So we've got a lesson today, later today that I'm doing, and it's really great. I have a really great group of 40 plus people in there. So we're building this course, but it's all business. So nothing about posing or lighting or anything like that. It's
Right.
all business, and it's for portrait photographers. So if you're wedding or commercial, it's not for you. But portrait photographers, yeah. And I want people to make the kind of money that they can be making, and not working as hard as they are. So
Hmm.
working less and making more is the goal.
Love it. Awesome.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
stuff. Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna link that up in the show notes and in
for
the
sure.
description for the video.
Okay,
But otherwise, Tanya, thank you for coming on and sharing a bunch
awesome.
of ideas. And I think too, we're gonna link up again the last podcast that we did, because I know that we talked a lot more in depth about that promotion that you ran, how you promoted it. We even talked, if I remember correctly, all of we talked about the emails that you send and the whole sequence that you send them down, like all of that,
Yeah,
which is crucial if you want to be running that kind of promotion in order to do those kinds of conversions.
yeah. And there's a download too. I think there's a
Yeah.
link in that other one for my the steps that I did.
Yep.
So and how to
Awesome.
strategically do it all. Yeah.
Good stuff. Awesome. Tanya, thank you so much for coming on, and stay safe, stay healthy over there.
Yeah. Thanks. You too.
Hey, and welcome back. How you guys doing? Okay, so really quickly, this here again is the initial or the original interview that I had with Tanya, episode 385 of the podcast. You can just go to getsproutstudio.com/385 to listen to that. Or if you have the podcast on your podcast app, wherever it is that you listen, you should be able to scroll back down and find it. The podcast is on Stitcher, Google Play, the podcast app, obviously for Apple, Spotify, pretty much everywhere. Even if you go here, or not there, about the show, right here. Nope, right here. Subscribe for free. iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Podbean, Podbay, Podchaser, pretty much any pod whatever you'll find us. So I definitely encourage you to go back and listen to that, because a lot of the things that we kind of skimmed over in this interview that you just listened to with Tanya, we did go over in that podcast episode. So one of the things too, just as a side note, I thought that it would be interesting to spend a quick little minute and underscore, because you and I and everyone else in our industry of photographers, we're going through this time right now when we're thinking, you listen to that interview with Tanya and even some of the other ones that we've done on this challenge so far, and you might be thinking, there's no way I'm going to get people to spend money right now. Right now people are not spending money, and certainly that is like the case for a lot of people, right? Like you or I, if you're a photographer and your income has dropped, the idea of spending $1,000 on something right now probably isn't high up on our priority list. But you have to remember, just something else to consider, that sometimes we make other people's decisions with our own circumstances in mind, and it's just something I just want to, I guess, open your mind on that like that might not be the case for everybody. So don't write off some of these ideas assuming that they're not going to work, because it's not something that you would do right now. Just consider that there are people that like Tanya says in the interview there, that might still be spending money. They might still be looking at, opportunities like that and situations like that. So don't write off those kinds of ideas that might have people spending money right now. If it's not something that you would do, it might not mean that it's something that they wouldn't do. Does that make sense? I think of my brother right now. So my brother is a teacher, and his wife is a nurse, a full-time nurse. She's actually off on maternity leave. They had their first son about a month and a half ago, and obviously he's not working because the schools are closed right now. So here's two people that are still earning their full-time salary. They're necessarily not struggling financially, right? Like they're doing okay. They're both at home. They're with their newborn son. Both still making their full-time salary. Now again, it's different. Every situation is different, and I don't want to brush everything with the same stroke everything with this. I don't know what the saying is. Sorry if you can hear my kids in the background there. But basically, like my brother and his wife might not be in a situation where, I mean, they might make purchases right now. If a photographer were to go by, or if they were to see an offer to, buy a family portrait plan or something like that, like they're not in the position right now. And I know this personally, they're not in the position where they're like, trying to conserve everything. Like they're okay financially right now. And financially, this isn't destroying them right now. So they're the kind of family that might be looking to support the community, might be looking to support local entrepreneurs. If their newborn photographer that they went to for newborn photos reached out to them right now, they may not say no. You know what I'm saying? So it's just something to consider, that some of these ideas we might brush under the rug thinking, that wouldn't work right now because people aren't making purchasing decisions, but some people are. So just don't be dismissive to the ideas, looking through them through your lens, because other people are in different situations. That's all. So I'm gonna wrap up today's episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. A little bit of rah-rah, a little bit of let's get your butts in gear. Let's make sure that we're doing things. Again, we can lead you to water, but we can't force you to drink the water, right? So we're trying to bring you as much content, as much wisdom, as much knowledge, as much insight as we possibly can, by just throwing you tactics and strategies and tips and tricks and beeps and bopes and whatever. But now it's up to you. Now it's up to you to go and do the things, and to spend some time, and to hustle, and to work hard, and to develop patterns, to develop systems, to develop habits that will help you grow your business and help you weather the storm. So the ideas are in front of you, the roadmap is in front of you, the strategies are in front of you. Now it's your time to get to work and do the things. Make sense? Okay, guys, stay safe, stay healthy. Again, thank you so much for spending the time with me this morning. If you're watching live, thank you for spending the time. If you're not watching live, for watching this entire video and making it to the end. Again, if you are not on this, where is this? If you're not on this email list right here, come on over there. Every afternoon, we are emailing you a full transcript and a checklist from the episode. And every morning, we email you the link for the live broadcast at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're trying to stay on top of you guys and make sure that you're held accountable for this stuff. But again, we can only do so much. But that is a good step. If you're not already on that list, hop on over there, put in your email address. And otherwise, we'll see you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time again. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you guys soon.